Welcome back to the EHNTR podcast, everybody. On today's podcast, I have Matt with Grim Reaper Broadheads. If you guys haven't seen what Grim Reaper Broadheads can do, you need to check them out. I have not used them in the past, but they're pretty amazing. I've got some friends that have used them, and they swear by them. So Grim Reaper's been a sponsor of ours on the podcast in the past, and we're super stoked to be able to have this podcast with them, to be able to just talk about some of the new stuff that they have coming out, as well as just archery hunting in general. So before we jump into the podcast, as always, we want to thank our sponsors, Vortex Optics, for everything that they do for us here at Ehuntr. I'm sure you guys are kind of sick of hearing me say it like that. I kind of say it the same way every single time, but we are very grateful for them and for all the help that they give us. They have some amazing products, a lot of new stuff coming out for 2022. So check out their stuff. So, all right, guys, we'll hop into this podcast. Looks like they're hopping on. So hope you guys enjoy. Let us know if you guys have any comments or questions. Well, dude, I'm excited to get this podcast rolling. I'll be honest, Matt, I have never used a Grim Reaper Broadhead, which I know I'm glad we're doing this via Zoom, because you'd probably shoot one at me right now. But can
I get your address?
No way, man! Just showing my front door with that guy standing behind you. I don't want none of that.
Right.
Don't worry, I've taken up the Grim Reaper mantle for EHNTR. I've shot him for a long time, so yeah. I'll excuse Taryn's ignorance.
We'll get him converted over. So
that's what I'm kind of figuring. We're gonna get converted over on this. Actually, I'm already converted over because Seth is always talking about it, and then I've got a couple buddies here. So I live down in Enterprise, Utah, and got a couple of buddies here that just swear by it. And had a buddy this last year. He shot 2 deer. He shot one in Nevada and one here in Utah. Just beautiful bucks. So I think one scored like 185 and one scored like 176, something like that. And he was telling me the stories of shooting them, and like I said, he was using the Grim Reaper Broadheads. And dude, those things, they annihilate those deer. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, they're awesome heads, and obviously locally made. My brother-in-law is actually all of his family's from Enterprise. So
no way.
The Jones family.
Holy cow!
Kyle Jones is my brother-in-law. He has a bunch of younger brothers.
No way. Yeah. I went to school with all those boys. So yeah, he was a little bit older than me, but yeah, Colin, McKay, all those guys are my age.
Yeah. Kyle's married to my older sister. So.
Holy crap! I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. He's
a good dude. He teaches there at Snow Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
Teaches and coaches, etc. So they live over in Ivins.
Yeah. That's crazy. What a small world. Most people, when I'll say Enterprise, and they're like, where's Enterprise? I'm like, it's St. George. Oh, okay, St. George. All right.
I know where it is.
Well, let's jump into this podcast and get things going. I'm sure you have a lot going on today, especially if you're trying to get ready for shows and whatnot, but I appreciate you taking a few minutes to jump on and talk about all things Grim Reaper. So I guess first and foremost, what we always like to do is have you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and what you do over there.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Matt Bateman. I am the national sales manager here at Grim Reaper, also the longest tenured employee at the company. Been here for 15 years, so pretty early on in Grim Reaper's history. They've been around. Grim Reaper's been around since officially came onto the scene in 2000. So the first 6-7 years I wasn't here, but I've been here ever since. So, I'm the national sales manager here. Obviously, on my personal side, I'm married with 3 kids. Live in San Quentin, Utah. So
yes.
Passionate bow hunter, passionate archer, advocate of archery and hunting and all things outdoors. So, love being in the industry, love meeting new people, and obviously spending a lot of time outdoors, and especially with the bow in my hands. So, as far as what I do here, obviously I manage sales nationwide. Actually, we have dealers and distributors all over the world, and oversee, all sales operations here at Grim Reaper, but heavily involved with a lot of things. Being here as long as I have in a small family-owned company, I've been heavily involved with design and development, marketing. And, honestly, nobody knows the ins and outs of Grim Reaper Broadheads and our product line better than I do in the world. So, I'm pretty knowledgeable across everything Grim Reaper. So I look forward to having a fun conversation with you guys today and see where it goes.
That's awesome, man. That's good. I'm glad that you've been there that long, because I have quite a few questions I want to ask you. I know Seth has a lot that he wants to ask you as well, and we want to talk about a lot of kind of your new stuff that's coming out, and well, not even just your new stuff, but just all things, all products as we talk today. But
if I can't answer it, nobody can. So.
Good. That's awesome. Well, let's do that. Let's first talk about kind of like. For some of the folks, so I've really been looking into Grim Reaper, like I said, ever since this past summer when my buddy shot those 2 deer, and he called me and had me help with it. And I was honestly, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your skirt or anything like that. I was honestly blown away at how well those broadheads worked. And so, like I said, Seth's been talking about it like crazy, and so I just kind of want to talk about like what products we have, and I'm probably going to turn it over to Seth because he knows your products a lot better than I do, and can probably ask better questions. But I just kind of want to, let's start that way, if you guys don't mind talking about what products Grim Reaper has.
I think it'd be great for me to give a little company history and what ultimately makes Grim Reaper Broadheads great.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, sets us apart on a lot of levels from other manufacturers in the industry, because there's a lot of broadheads out there. There's a lot of companies out there. But really what's unique and sets Grim Reaper apart are several things. But one, when you look at the archery industry, and especially the broadhead category, Grim Reaper Broadheads is one of the only brands remaining in the industry that's still independently owned under original ownership. Everything's 100% made in-house, in our own machine shop, etc. All made here in the USA, made right here in Provo, Utah. And so, most brands and most companies don't have that. They're under a big umbrella or a big conglomerate or a big investment or marketing group, and they have multiple different products and multiple different brands, etc. And which is great, but our sole focus is broadheads, design, quality. We eat, sleep, and breathe broadheads. And because of that, that's our passion. That's our expertise. We are absolute broadhead experts. That's all we do. And so that passion, that knowledge, that experience shows in our product line. We're not strung out on a million different things. We just make sharp objects that kill stuff. And so we really, the passion, the knowledge, the quality's there. And then we, because of that, and because it's our sole focus, we have created really the most diverse line of broadheads in the entire industry right now. As far as different model broadheads, fixed blade, hybrid, mechanicals, different grain weight options, etc. There's nobody that has as extensive of a line as Grim Reaper Broadheads. And some people look at it and are like, whoa, you guys have a ton of product, but it's because that's all we do. We're experts. We don't want to be a jack of all trades. Right. We want to be an expert in what we do, and so that's really what sets Grim Reaper Broadheads as a brand apart from a lot of the competition out there. And then we can dive into specifics and different models, etc. But that's kind of an overhaul of who we are as a company and a brand, and really what sets us apart. So you'll notice, like, the guys that are behind the Grim Reaper brand out there, they're behind it because of hype or because of marketing or because of all the TV commercials or whatever. They're behind it because of the same passion we feel. It's a good quality product that performs and is consistent and works for them. It's almost like a cult-like following, and that's what we want. That's what Grim Reaper's always tried to accomplish. We could go spend $1 million in marketing and buy a certain percentage of customers, but we built a diehard following and a brand of hunters that love our products because of the quality, the service we offer, the expertise we offer, the diversity we offer, the constant improvements we make. Even day to day, we can see something in production and make it better. And that's, we're not bringing a container of broadheads over from China, honestly, where a lot of them come from, that it is what it is once they show up. I mean, if I see something midstream or we see something midstream in our production on our machines that, hey, we can make this tip sharper, we can make this tougher, we can do this different, we have the ability to do that. And so the evolution of Grim Reaper over the last 20 years, 15 years in particular, since I've been here, is pretty awesome to see where we've come. And so that's an overhaul of what really sets Grim Reaper apart as a company and as a brand.
That's awesome, man. That's crazy. And it, like kind of going back to what you're saying, like it's kind of a cult following. I really think it is, and it's not because, like you said, it's not because of the marketing that you guys do. I mean, there are those places that have that, maybe not in the broadhead world, but in in other areas. But it's results based. As I said, like just like with my buddy, looking what he had, it's result based because of what it does. He's like, yeah, I won't shoot anything else but Grim Reaper broadheads. And so, I mean, it's amazing what they do, and it does create that cult following. And then once you have that following, guys like me will see what they do, and then it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I need to try something different. So I've seen what Seth's done in the past. I'm like, holy cow, it's just I need to jump on the bandwagon is what I need to do.
Well, yeah, we want you on board, and we that's how we get people, right? They see what their friends are doing or their buddies are doing, and they see the success, and then people are big on good quality American made products right now, and also service, and expertise, and it's hard to call a company and get service or get someone that knows what they're talking about. And people can actually call here to Grim Reaper and speak to me directly, the most knowledgeable person on the planet on our brand, and they've got that passion and that knowledge. And so there's just a different dynamic than they get with maybe some other brands, and we pride ourselves on that. That's who we want to be and what we do, and so we want people to use the product because it works for them, and we know that because I'm a diehard. I don't know if you know anything about me, but I'm a diehard archer first, a bow hunter, and I got to believe in what I'm selling and pushing, and I put it to the test, in the field and in testing, and I fully believe in our products and our brand, and I'm not just some guy sitting behind the desk. I've ran them through the ringer in real world scenarios, and I can stand behind that and talk to guys about them, and they see that passion shine through as well. So that's who we are and what we want to do, and get guys like you to try them, and we know you'll stay.
Yeah, that's right. What changes have you guys, so over that 15 years, and sorry, Seth, I know that, I know you have a lot of stuff that you want to talk about, but I just can't help myself. So over those 15 years, Matt, like what big changes have you guys made with your broadheads? What, have you guys, you talked about making them sharper or bigger or whatever, like what are some of the things that you guys have done in those 15 years?
Right. So, I mean, you look back 20 years ago at mechanical broadheads, right? That's kind of when mechanical broadheads were first getting popular. And the owner, actually, who's still the owner and original inventor of the broadheads, Jay Lichty, he liked the concept of a mechanical broadhead, but for him, especially out west for elk hunting, etc., there were some lacking features, durability and penetration and deflection, all the things that some of the and fixed blades went through the same thing.
Right.
I don't know how old you guys are, but I used to steal broadheads out of my dad's broadhead box, old satellite broadheads and paper thin blades, and they just weren't what they are today, right?
Right.
And same thing with mechanicals, and all broadheads in general, and so he took, with the original Grim Reaper design, he took everything, he listed out everything he could find wrong with the mechanical broadhead, and he resolved that issue: durability, deflection, penetration, all these different things. And so that's how the original Grim Reaper design came to fruition. And then over the years, as setups change and setups have got faster, and technology's got better all around in every aspect, we've constantly improved our internal spring system design. We've improved the skills we use, the materials we use, the heat treat process we use. We've implemented better and more stringent quality control systems. We're ISO certified as a company in our machine shop to offer better quality. We've instead of outsourcing components over the last 15 years, we've slowly transitioned everything to, we have a full 10,000 square foot in-house machine shop, and we machine all of our own components now because we can do them the way we want and get the quality standard we want to meet. So, there's just been constant growth and constant change, improving the products. Just more recent in the last 5 years, we've taken years worth of designs and come out with our Pro Series line, which we've implemented our Pro Tip and different configurations and different technologies we built over the years into our Premier line, our Pro Series broadhead. And then after that, we just saw a niche there as companies were selling out and different brands were moving overseas, et cetera. We decided, hey, we got to jump hard into the fixed blade line. So we created the Hades and the micro Hades. We've just diversified, and now we do a lot of crossbow models because crossbow market's so huge. So we've just seen niches and seen opportunity for improvement and grown and changed and adapted and diversified. I can't list all the changes and improvements we've done because it's dozens a year that we say, hey, we can change that material to something better, or we can change that machining process to make this body a little tougher, or make our spring system engagement a little better, make our blades tougher, make our blades sharper. I mean, it's just nonstop.
Yeah,
that's what's fun about it is we have that ability to do it, and we do. We take enough pride and passion in it. We do that when we see opportunity to change and improve. We do. It's not always about the bottom line. It's about, hey, let's make this better. Yeah, it's going to cost a little bit more, but in the end, we're going to have a better product, and I think that's lost in a lot of brands these days. It's that passion and knowledge and ability to make those changes on the fly just doesn't exist like it does here.
Well, you can hear that pride and passion that you have as you're talking about this, because you can definitely tell it's not about the bottom line. It's about just creating a great product, which is, it's so funny because you're talking about a piece of metal that we put on the end of an arrow, and all the changes that you can make to that to make that better. And it fascinates me, honestly. I'm a golfer. I know Seth's going to make fun of it, but it cracks me up of how many changes they can make to a driver or to a golf ball. It's basically, they are basically look the same or whatever, but they're always making changes to fly further or fly better. And it sounds like kind of the same thing with what you guys have going through with Grim Reaper Broadheads. Is you're making those fine-tuned things, making it more durable, making it fly better, making it penetrate better, whatever the case may be, to make that just the perfect broadhead. And I'm sure that'll be a lifelong or many generation long adventure trying to find that perfect broadhead.
Right. Well, that's the goal. And to go along with that, it's been a necessity too, because look at what bows and arrows have done in the last 20 years, right? Yeah. A broadhead from 20 years ago isn't going to hold up to a brand new bow that's producing a lot more speed and energy and than ever before.
Yeah.
A bow 20 years ago at 50 pounds or 70 pounds doesn't touch what a 55-pound bow does today. So along with that growth and that, there's got to be constant evolution with the broadhead end as well. So, we'll keep improving as long as we can. We feel like we got some pretty sweet products, but if we see a way to make them better, we do, and we will.
Do you guys remember those old broadheads? When I first started shooting archery, I had those broadheads that were they were a fixed blade, and I swear they were like that long, just these big old honking things you put on the end of your arrow. And I remember when they started going down to just these little small ones, and I was like, oh, that's not going to work. Come to find out, it actually worked out better than those big ones did.
Yeah, some of the things we used to shoot, there's no way you could throw on a modern setup and get them to fly or get them to work for you. And I wish I had some of the equipment now, or back then, that I have now.
Oh.
Probably have a few more big muleys on the wall if I did. But.
Heck yeah, it would be killers if we had this equipment 20 years ago.
But it's still always been just as fun. That hasn't changed.
Right. Oh yeah. Yep. All right, Seth. I'll be quiet now. I'm starting to geek out, so I better be quiet and let you talk before I get crazy.
So I'm just gonna start with an easy one. What is your most popular broadhead? Like, is it still just the regular old 3-blade, or have you seen a shift there? Or are people changing, or is it still the traditional Grim Reaper design?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Honestly, it's pretty area dependent or region dependent. When you look at bow hunting, the honest answer is 80% of the market is whitetail.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just the truth. Out west, we think it's huge, but it's not compared to the amount of bow hunters and bow hunting done. It's in the whitetail world. So our number one selling broadhead is our big 2-inch cut 3-blade whitetail special, because that's really the number one style of bow hunting out there. Out west, yeah, absolutely. Our 3-blade 1 3/8 mechanical is still our top dog. You know, we've grown and improved that over the years. Our pro 3-blade 1 3/8, which is kind of all the years of technology and growth and changes built into that pro series model, is our number one selling Western broadhead, because it's a little more conducive to Western hunting, longer shooting, bigger animals, a little smaller cut, swept blade angle, all those things that go into what we want out west here, versus the big whitetail special that is that big, huge, devastating hole that guys shooting 20 yards out of a tree stand want on a deer. You know, so, but yeah, overall, the whitetail special number, you know, in the world or in the country. But out west here, the 1 3/8 3-blade, especially the pro model, is number one. We are seeing huge growth in our micro Hades fixed blades and like our little 4-blade mini mag mechanical. We're seeing big growth in a couple newer models, but the 1 3/8 3-blade is still king, still what I shoot for most stuff. And then the other kicker in there is crossbow. Crossbow market's blown up. We sell a ton of our crossbow specific model. We have to design them a little bit different to stay closed at 400 to 500 feet per second that they're getting out of these new crossbows. So wouldn't be surprised if our 100 grain crossbow model actually is our number one selling broadhead this year. That's how big the crossbow market has got, but that's not something we really deal with out west here, you know, obviously.
So a follow-up question, and kind of on a personal note, you touched on a little bit, but talk about the 4-blade setup, because that's what I'm shooting.
So yeah, I love the mini mag. I'm guessing you're referring to the mini mag, the 4-blade mini mag. And it's quickly grown into one of our top selling mechanical broadheads, and it's something we came out with a few years back in our pro line. And kind of the concept behind it, if you look at our lineup, we had what we called the Fatal Steel, which was a little all steel mechanical broadhead, short, little compact design, super accurate, super tough, and people loved it. I loved it, but the only gripe we ever had along, you know, with the Fatal Steel was, hey, if I'm going to shoot a mechanical, I want more cut diameter, you know, because it's not really cutting. Yeah, it is more forgiving, it is more accurate than most fixed blades, but it's not really cutting much more with the 1 1/4 3-blade design. So the mini mag was kind of my brainchild. I thought, well, if we could build this design in a 4-blade model and keep it short, compact, really tough, really beefed up, but add a 4th blade and get that extra blade surface to increase cut, I think we'd have a winner, which we do, and which has been great for us. And so that was the original reasoning behind it. But a byproduct of the design, if you understand how Grim Reapers work, all of our mechanical blades sit on an internal spring, and all blades are resting on one spring. So with the 4-blade designs, we found that on impact, you know, the odds of ever hitting an animal with the broadhead where all 4 mechanical blades are making contact at the exact moment, right? You're usually on some kind of an angle. So on impact, as soon as one blade starts hitting with our design, it kicks that spring, it compresses against that spring and actually releases all the other blades that are resting on that same spring. It's like the shock on a truck.
Yeah, right.
When one blade hits and starts compressing that spring, everything comes open.
Okay.
So that 4-blade, because it's not only is it, you know, have that feature where you hit a blade and it starts opening all blades, but that particular blade and that particular model is our shortest blade anyway. So it's got the shortest overall swing arm to get deployed. So it actually has turned into be our fastest opening mechanical on impact. We see phenomenal entrance wound channels with it. It gets open really fast. It doesn't take a lot of energy, but in that little compact design, because of the 4 blades, you still have 2.5 inches of total blade surface, which is a lot, and
Right.
that's a misconception. I'm going to get squirreled sidetracked here for a minute. Cut diameter is pretty misleading in the broadhead category, right? Cut diameter, the way the industry labels it, is diameter. Right. So if you have a 2-blade broadhead, you draw a circle around the outside of the 2 blades and measure across that circle. That's cut diameter, and that's what is on broadhead packaging. So a 2-blade 1.5-inch broadhead has exactly 1.5 inches of blade surface. You add a 3rd blade on there, it's still labeled the exact same 1.5 inches, but now you have another full blade of cut. So it actually has more blade surface, which is, it gives you more cut, but it also takes a little more energy to push that through. You add a 4th blade in, all of a sudden that same labeled 1.5 inch cut diameter broadhead now has 3 total inches, double the amount of blade surface, but it's still labeled the same. And that's pretty misleading, right?
Right.
So I like to refer to, and as we're talking, you guys might hear this, I like to refer to as total blade surface or linear cut. You push a broadhead through a piece of paper. How much paper did you cut? That's what matters, exactly. Not what is labeled as the cut diameter. So that's why that 4 blade's pretty cool. It's still short, compact, short blades. Not a lot of leverage out on those blades to deflect, those kind of things. A shorter blade's tougher, just physics. Opens faster, all those things. But within that little compact design, you get 2.5 inches of total blade surface, which is devastating. It punches an awesome wound channel, bleeds animals out. That's what we're trying to do. Still maintains the durability and integrity that we want. So, that's kind of the overall view of the mini mag and why it's such a neat broadhead. Kind of gives us all those things us Western guys want. We want durable, we want accurate, we want something that's going to penetrate still good for the blade surface you get. And that's kind of always the trade-off. If you go to a huge broadhead, you're going to sacrifice penetration and durability, period. It's just physics. I don't care what guys want to argue when we're talking 100 grain broadheads,
Right.
There's trade-offs with everything. So that mini mag's kind of in my zone, right? Yeah. Small, compact, moderate cut, bigger than a fixed blade, but still maintaining a moderate enough cut that it penetrates good, has the durability, and just gets the job done.
Yeah, I've not taken anything with it yet, but Taryn's gonna get me set up on an antelope this year, and I'm gonna get one.
Sweet. I've shot quite a few critters with it. Absolutely love it. In fact, it's the only, I'm pretty diehard as when it comes to my Inch and 3/8 Pro. But I actually pack 2 mini mags, 3 Inch and 3/8 Pro, and 2 mini mags in my quiver, just because I can. And they both fly the same for me. And I've shot a lot of animals actually the last 3 or 4 years with the mini mag. It's been really the only one that I've mixed into my, when you're on that trophy hunt, you just want your tried and true, and that one you have confidence in. That's the Pro Inch and 3/8. And I'll sit there hunting and I'll look at something else on the end of my arrow, and after a minute I'm like, I can't do it. I'll switch my arrows out. But the mini mag's been the only one that I've slowly transitioned into kind of my go-tos. It's an awesome head. I really, really do like it and how it performs.
Nice. Well, that makes me happy.
What did you use in the past, Seth? Just what did I know you've taken quite a few animals?
The traditional 3-blade. He said it a bunch of times. The Pro Series. Okay. That's what I've taken my antelope before with, and my 2 other bucks that I've taken with Grim Reapers. So
nice.
Great head. If I'm starting somebody out that just wants to try a mechanical broadhead, like, hey, I've always shot fixed and I want to, that's the one I'll push them at, because it guys will pass judgment on their first experience.
Yeah.
And if someone has always shot a little small fixed blade broadhead and they go straight to our whitetail special, expecting even similar type penetration or durability characteristics, it's just not what that head's designed for. It's 2 or 3 times bigger and more blade surface and longer. So you're really giving up a lot for a big, huge hole. And that's why it's called the whitetail special. It's built for those type scenarios, closer shooting, smaller animals. But guys will take one and then have a poor penetration experience on an elk, and then they ride off mechanical broadheads. And it all came down to, hey, you honestly just picked the wrong one. You needed to talk to someone that knew what they were talking about. And hey, let's go over here to the Pro Inch and Trace 3-blade. That it's bigger than your fixed. It's going to be more forgiving because it's lower in-flight profile, and you can get away with a little more, maybe a tuning issue or a shooting issue or whatever. It is going to be more forgiving because of profile, but it gives you a really good cut diameter, but it still penetrates really well because it's moderate cut, real sweat blade angle, which is huge for penetration. That's where I'll push a newcomer to the mechanical world, just so they go out there and see what it's all about. And then if they want to try different things and get bigger or whatever, that's great. But that's kind of always my game plan when talking to somebody that wants to dip their toes and shoot a mechanical broadhead. Let's start you out here and have you have a great experience, and then mechanicals work and they're great. Then you can tinker from there.
Yeah, they fly so well, even at my longer maximum range type stuff. That's one of my deer and the antelope were at kind of my max bottom pin and just drove tacks right into them. So I've liked them.
Yeah, and that's really I've had the fixed versus mechanical conversation. I can't even tell you how many times over the last 15 years. And, to me, and I don't care what anyone shoots, just understand and know what you're shooting and practice and be prepared on your end to know your capabilities, and shot placement is key, period.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every animal I've ever shot in my life that I hit through both lungs or hit through the heart died, period. So that's number one. That's always been my biggest, pitch towards a mechanical broadhead. It's just that, not because I'm lazy and not because my bow isn't perfectly tuned and I don't shoot arrows every single day, almost year round. That's not it. Some people will say mechanicals are for lazy hunters. That's not true, because I'm not lazy. I put in as much effort as anyone I know. My bow's always dialed. My setup's right. My arrow's flying correct. But I choose a mechanical because of the overall forgiveness and accuracy, especially longer shooting, windy conditions, out west type hunting. And I like a little more cut diameter.
Yep.
Today's setups are efficient and give us a lot more energy than we ever had. And we have that ability to push a little more cut through an animal, even some of the bigger animals. I shoot a mechanical on everything. Elk, I shot my moose in Canada with it this past season with the EHNTR Pro. People thought I was an idiot for taking that, but it's what I have confidence in. It's what I know I'm going to put in the right spot. I don't always make perfect shots. Nobody does, but it's what I have the most confidence in and putting where I need to put it. And that's what I base my decision on.
So Inch and 3H, you can use that for anything. Yeah, like you said, use it for moose. You can use it for pronghorn, whatever you want. It'll pretty much do everything.
Yeah, that's I call it my workhorse do-all mechanical head. When you look at the design, and I'll show you guys. I got one right here. I always have one close by. When you look at the design, it's a moderate cut, but look at that, how swept those blades are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blade angle is such a giant factor in penetration. And jumping back to like 2-blade designs and a lot of other mechanical designs out there, because you're trying to get all your blade surface out of a lot of these 2-blade designs, the blade angles are long and bumped out flat. So there's a ton of resistance on those blades, especially you hit bone or whatever. There's a ton of resistance for penetration. There's a lot of potential there for deflection because you got longer blades and flatter blade angles. You're chopping through things rather than slicing. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest things that sets fixed blades apart. If you look at most fixed blade designs, they have a lot more swept, a steeper blade angle. They're smaller cuts with steeper blade angles, so it obviously penetrates better. This is kind of that middle ground, jumping to a mechanical, but still maintaining a really swept blade angle and a moderate cut for penetration. And people don't understand how big of a factor that is. So, that's why this head's just such a good overall. It'll shoot out of, I have kids, women shooting it with 40-pound bows on deer and getting pass-throughs. Or, I've shot it through elk, I've shot it through moose, I've shot it 70 yards on antelope, or, you know what I mean? It's just kind of that universal all-around head, and that's what I'm looking for in a broadhead. I don't want something that's just specifically set up and designed to punch through an elk shoulder blade at 10 yards. That's great, but that's not my hunting style. I might shoot an elk today at 12 yards, but I might shoot an antelope tomorrow at 72. And the Pro 3" and 3/8 or the Mini Mag, those heads are what give me that all around confidence. Any scenario that's throwing at me in a hunting scenario, I'm good to go. And I know it's if I do my part, it's going to do its part.
Yep.
If I square something up, an elk up in the shoulder, square in the shoulder at 30 yards, I can live with the fact that to me, that's a poor shot, and that's on me.
Exactly.
I want my broadhead. I know what I can do. I know what my broadhead can do. I want it to all come down to me executing a good shot and hitting the animal where I know I'm supposed to hit it. And it's a done deal, period.
And executing that shot comes down to confidence. If you don't have confidence in the field, I mean, whether you're shooting a gun or whether you're shooting a bow or whatever you're doing, you got to have confidence in your tool. And so, if you have confidence that that if I put this in the right spot, if I do my job, it'll do its job.
Yeah, and dude, you guys have been in hunting scenarios. There's so many things going on and it's happening. I don't want to be thinking, oh man, 62 yards and there's a little wind. Yeah. Is this broadhead going to plane on me, or is it going to do its job if I don't even want to think about it. I want it to be just instinctive. I've ran that head through, well over 150 big game animals on every angle you can imagine. That's a lethal angle to shoot an animal or a ethical animal. And I just have confidence in it. So that's what I roll with, that's what works. And I don't, I'm not ever going to blame the broadhead because I know it works. It's just I got to execute and do my part, and if I put it in a good spot, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
So
what's the difference between the Pro and the razor tip one? I was doing a little bit of research as I've been kind of looking to see which one I want to get into. What's the difference between those two?
So the razor tip's our original tip. It's and it's awesome. I shot it forever before we came out with the Pro series. What's Pro's been out 6 years or so, I think. But I shot the razor tip originally, but it still had the same 1 3/8 and swept blade angle.
Yeah.
But that was our original tip. It's the design is a trocar style bone busting, just a beast of a tip that's designed for blowing up bone, and it works great. It's always been a phenomenal head for us. We still sell a ton of them. Guys just have shot them forever and love them, and that's great. But, kind of going back to our history, that was the original. Then there was a kind of a phase in the archery industry that you had to have a cut-on contact tip. So broadhead manufacturers came out with all these designs, cut-on contact designs with the blade in the tip of the broadhead, mechanical head,
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, Grim Reaper had that concept patented. The original, we made our razor cut, which had a blade in the tip of the broadhead, and that was a patent of ours. And then over the years, we transitioned out to kind of more of a machined bladed tip. We still call it the razor cut. So you had the razor tip, the bone busting trocar style, like the original Muzzies had. And then you have the cut on contact razor cut designs. And over the years, the owner and myself, we wanted to create a tip that offered the best of both worlds. It still had all the integrity and the bone busting capabilities of the razor tip, but was sharp, cut on, could be labeled as a razor sharp cut on contact. And it actually took us literally 15 years to develop and design and come to the Pro tip, which the design's pretty dang cool. And we actually hand sharpen 100% of them. So when you buy a pack of Pro tips, anyone that has them, you pull them out. I mean, that tip's the sharpest tip made on the planet, period. But it's still got the integrity to bust bone. If you spin it on your hand, it'll make you bleed. That's because we machine them and then we hand sharpen them on a belt grinder, every single one of them. It's extremely labor intensive. But man, it's what makes the best, coolest tip on the planet. And that's what we do. So that's where the pro tip came from. So we feel we finally made the ultimate tip for a broadhead, and we call it our pro tip. That's what on all of our new pro series, our fixed blade broadheads, our hybrid broadheads, our pro mechanicals all have that unique, super sharp, hand sharpened pro tip. And you play with them, you'll see what I'm talking about. They're scary sharp.
That's wild. Yeah, because as I looked at them, I was looking at the razor tip. Is that right? The razor. I hope I'm not messing this up. I got the product. I got it here. So yeah, the razor tip. I was thinking, oh, okay, that looks like more for elk because I might have to, bust through a shoulder or, going through their hide is a little bit tougher. I was like, okay, that's more for elk, and the pro series would be more for deer. But it sounds like that's not correct. It sounds like the pro series would basically do the same thing as the razor tip as far as if it needed to go through the shoulder, it could go through the shoulder or whatever it needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, the tip's not going to be your hiccup there. I mean, going through a shoulder comes down to the tip's going to do its job. It comes down to, hey, do you have enough energy to push this cut down or through a shoulder? Where do you hit in the shoulder type of thing? So, but the pro tip is phenomenal. It has both bone busting type durability, but yet it literally is razor sharp. And that was always the goal, to kind of combine those two features into one unique tip. And that's what the pro tip is.
So for a guy, go ahead, Seth.
I was just going to say, going off of your moose hunt story, in 15 to 20 years, when I'm lucky enough to draw this bison archery tag, would I be fine shooting the pro series, or would you recommend something else?
I mean, that's one of those tricky ones. I've had a lot of guys shoot buffalo with mechanical heads with good success. Even that EHNTR pro razor tip. And I had this conversation with a good friend of mine, Alan Bolin, last year. He bought a buffalo tag here in the state, ended up killing, I think, the new state record buffalo. And he's a diehard advocate of our mechanicals. He shoots them for everything for the most part. Mm-hmm. And he called me. He's like, dude, I got this buffalo tag. I'm gonna shoot the pro EHNTR. Put me some together. So I got him some put together, and then he talked to another friend of mine, Bob Phorm, over in California, big hunter, and he's got the Grand Slam a couple of times, and he owns a big archery shop over there. And Bob put a bug in Alan's ear that, hey man, buffalo's one animal with their long hair and they're huge. I'd probably throw a fixed blade. And it's funny because I'm going to use this as an example. I'm confident Alan could have gone and killed that bull with a mechanical head, but that got him thinking and a little nervous. And as soon as that happened, I said, dude, you got to roll with what you're 100% confident in on a hunt like this. So if you don't walk into it, if you're questioning yourself and questioning your equipment and nervous about it, don't do it. You got to roll into it 100% knowing, and most guys wouldn't take a mechanical broadhead on a moose hunt like I did, because it would be in their mind. Not that I don't think the product will do the job, but it would be in their head. And that's kind of what I told Alan. So he ended up grabbing some micro Hades and smoking his bull, worked phenomenal, blew through it. Who knows what the EHNTR would have done. I think it would have done the same job, but it's a confidence thing.
Right.
So, I don't try to, on those kind of hunts, I tell guys, look, I would do it, but you got to go with what if you question it or you're worried about it. Because ultimately, if a guy's even questioning it at all and he doesn't get his animal, it doesn't matter what happened. He's always going to blame
the broadhead,
the product. Well, yep. Man, I knew I shouldn't have shot a mechanical, even if he hit it totally bad, right? Yep. So I don't like to, it's a game of confidence. The buffalo thing. If I ever get a buffalo tag, I'm gonna go shoot it with a mechanical head. I know one of the kids up at Black Ovis Camo Fire, he shot his buffalo 2 or 3 years ago, smoked it with a mini mag.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely hammered it, and loves that broadhead and sent me all kinds of pictures. So it's just all relative to your confidence level. But that's, if I tell guys, if you're going to hunt, even me, I'm a mechanical advocate. I shoot them for everything and will for everything, unless I go to Idaho, which is the only state in the country that doesn't allow mechanical broadheads for big game hunting. But anywhere else I hunt, I'm shooting a mechanical broadhead, period. But there are mechanicals I won't shoot, even in my own line, because they don't fit me in my hunting style. I don't really shoot the whitetail special because it doesn't fit me in my hunting style. It's not designed for shooting 60 yards and a little bigger animals. That's what the EHNTR and the mini mag and the fatal steel and our little micro hybrids are designed for. So, you can't generalize or just give a general label to mechanical broadheads because they are not all created equal, even in my lineup. I'll give you a couple pointers or listeners a couple pointers. When we're talking 100 grain broadheads or even 125, the bigger the total blade surface of the broadhead, period, the less penetration you're going to get and the less durability you're going to have, period. The smaller the overall broadhead design, cut diameter, blade surface, that's where you're going to get your best penetration and your best durability. It's just physics. You got two ends of the spectrum. I've got little micro Hades that are all steel, 1.1/16 cut, really swept blade angle that are 100 grain. And then I got the big, huge whitetail special over here. This one has 1.6 inches of blade surface. This one has 3. They're both 100 grain broadheads, but they're on different ends of the spectrum. So what do you want? Do you want a huge hole, but you're willing to deal with a little bit of, might tweak a blade or bend a ferrule? That's fine. Then shoot the whitetail special.
Right.
Do you want a broadhead that you shoot through anything on the planet and it still looks brand new? Then you got to go over here to the little micro Hades. I fall into the middle category.
Mm-hmm.
The EHNTR, mini mag, the carnivore, the micro hybrids that are right down the middle. They give me more cut, but they still maintain enough integrity. They take a little more energy, but they still penetrate really well. I'm not trying to compare them straight up to a fixed blade. It's just, you got to pick and choose what you want as a hunter, what's your hunting style, what's your comfortable shooting distance, what animals are you shooting. I hunt a specific way. I even shoot my animals in a specific spot, further back than most guys. And I've talked about this on podcasts. I come clear back from the shoulder. To me, that's my shot placement. That's what works. That's where I think overall is the best shot placement for several reasons. And, I hunt a certain way, a certain style, and a mechanical broadhead fits that. The ones I shoot, not all mechanicals, but the ones I shoot, the EHNTR Pro, the mini mag, they fit that style to a T. They work for me. That's not everyone's formula. If you're going to be the guy that calls me and says, dude, I shot an elk and I didn't get any penetration or I squared up the shoulder, I'm going to say go shoot the micro Hades 3-blade because that going to give you that's the best penetrating broadhead in Grim Reaper's lineup, the most durable broadhead in Grim Reaper's lineup, not because it's a fixed blade, but because it's a small cut, a swept blade angle, just what it is. So you can't generalize or just label a mechanical versus fixed. There's so many other factors, so many other variables that go into what really makes a broadhead tick and what really makes it penetrate or be durable. And you just kind of got to assess that as a hunter, what works for you and go from there.
It's kind of funny because you're talking about, overall blade versus penetration. And I'm a huge history nerd. But you go back and even look at how Native Americans built theirs. Even when they were big, they typically increased in length, not width, because they wanted to get in and because they're using a sharp rock, man, obsidian or something. They don't want it to cut a big out superficial hole. They want it to get in there and get the good stuff.
Yeah, you don't pick up an arrowhead that's like
this
axe shape, right?
Yeah. It's real long.
And you look at a lot of heads out there, mechanical heads, and even fixed blades have gone that way to a degree where they make these little short designs and that bumps the blade angle out to get cut.
Right.
So there's that balance there of maintaining angle. And that's why you look at most traditional guys, they're shooting a longer, really steep blade angle type design because that's a traditional broadhead that's designed for penetration. And if you're
Penetration.
straight up trying to make the best penetrating setup in the world, it's going to be a 2-blade, really long, steep angle broadhead.
Yep.
I'm not arguing that fact with anyone. I never have.
Right.
But I, with my setup and modern compound or even modern recurve bows or whatever,
Right.
I don't want a little 1-inch 2-blade slit.
Yep.
My setup, my hunting style can give me a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and the way I look at it, I want to feel comfortable maximizing my cut, maintaining durability, and still shooting for a pass-through entrance exit hole every time on a good hit.
Right.
You know, I push that envelope and find where that is. And that's whether that's at 70 yards or 10 yards or whatever, you know, I want to find that balance. That's what the end goal is, right? I don't care if my broadhead goes through and is stuck in a tree 20 yards behind my animal. I've had that happen a ton of times, but I want my broadhead to punch an entrance and an exit hole on a good broadside or quartered away hit. If I shoot one in the chest, I want it to bury to the fletchings, whatever. I want those things to happen because that's what kills the animal. And so that's why I opt for the options I go with. They give me everything I want. They're all around great performing heads and give me all I want for my hunting style and end of story. I mean, that's what works for me. And there's proven history and science behind that as well.
Right. So you're talking about the mechanical versus fixed, but then you guys have these little hybrid broadheads as well. I mean, is that kind of the best of both worlds, or what's the pros and cons of those?
Yeah. So yeah, it really is. I mean, it's kind of that option for guys that are a little bit
can't make up their mind.
Straight mechanical. Oh, it's not going to open or whatever. It gives them that peace of mind that, hey, I got a fixed blade, 2-blade fixed blade here, and these mechanical blades are a bonus. If they open, it's going to be devastating, you know, which they are going to open. But it gives that degree of confidence to guys. Plus, you know, the one, and again, I'm a huge mechanical advocate for a ton of reasons, but to me, the one downfall to a mechanical, for the most part, is if you don't get a pass through on an animal, the mechanical blades quit working for you where fixed blades keep working for you.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is if you got a broadhead internal in an animal pulling around, backing out, by law, in almost all states, mechanical blades have to be able to retract if you look at any mechanical design, if you pull it back out of anything, the blades will retract back into some degree of a closed position, because if not, it's considered a barbed broadhead. You know, they don't want it stuck like a fishing tip, right?
Right.
So you have to. So if an animal's running off and I shoot him with the pro inch and threads and I don't get a pass through and it pulls back a couple inches, those blades are going to close. Sure, you got a little pro tip that's still poking around, but a fixed blade still cutting, slicing and dicing. And so, you know, that's another advantage to look at, like a hybrid design or a fixed blade design has that, gives you, you know, so if you're shooting lighter poundage and, you know, you feel like, hey, maybe I'm not going to blow through an elk. That's a great option because you still got something working for you internally as that elk runs off. So there's a couple reasons it works. It gives some people that peace of mind. Hey, doesn't matter what happens. I have a fixed blade. I'm good. You know, they can't really blame just the mechanical end. So it's a route for people to dip their toes. 2, it's a 4-blade design. So it just gives you a lot of blade surface. 3, fixed blades are generally always more swept blade angles. So for the cut you get, you're not using a lot of energy. So you're just kind of getting that extra cut without adding a bunch of extra energy to push it through. And 4, it keeps working for you as it's internal in an animal if the animal runs off or moving around, whatever. And so those are advantages on the fixed end. And even I, as a mechanical guy, can recognize it and say, hey, this is what it is. You know, my goal with the mechanical is a pass-through, period. Because if I don't get a pass-through, it's not working for me anymore.
Right. Does it fly similar to a fixed blade? I mean, it's got the fixed blade on it, so I'd imagine it would fly similar to a fixed blade more so than a mechanical.
I mean, flight, it's just another one of those things that is relative to obviously setup, your bow being tuned, your arrow being spined correctly. Shooting form is probably the biggest factor. Oh, my bow's perfectly tuned and I'll shoot a bullet through paper. But guys get excited and torque their hand or punch the shot. And the larger profile you have in flight is just going to exaggerate that more. So yeah, a hybrid adds. We build our hybrids, almost all of our Pro Series hybrids, we build on our smaller fixed blade, the Micro Hades fixed blade cut, the 1/16 version, for that very reason, because it's a smaller overall fixed blade and just gives a little more accuracy, forgiveness, especially with today's faster setups. And we've had really good accuracy results out of the micro hybrids. But yeah, anytime you start adding more blade surface in flight, it comes down to setup, not the broadhead. People want to blame, no broadhead, especially a fixed or hybrid broadhead, can be straight up labeled as field point accurate. Are they capable of shooting groups like that? Yeah, for sure. But nothing's as accurate as a field point that has zero profile. Nothing's as accurate and forgiving, period.
Right.
It's just physics. Right? You add more wings up front, there's more potential for steering, and every issue is going to be exaggerated. I explain it like, hey, a field point's the most forgiving. You can get away with a bow that's a little out of tune. You can torque your grip. You can still shoot a sweet group. You do all those same things with the mechanical, it blows your group up a little bit.
Yeah.
You do all those same things with a hybrid, it blows your group up a little more. You do all those same things with a straight fixed blade, it blows your group up like this. It just,
it's physics.
It just takes more attention to specific details and shooting forms and conditions to have more profile be super accurate. Totally doable. But even the best shooters on the planet, and I rub shoulders with a lot of them, will absolutely tell you with a fixed blade broadhead, they're handicapped to some degree accuracy-wise, period.
And distance.
There's no question.
Yeah.
You start throwing down range at 80 yards and a little bit of wind, it handicaps their shooting ability, period.
Yep.
A mechanical gives them more forgiveness. You go find a world-class, best shooter in the world guy that's not shooting the mechanical. It's very rare.
Yeah.
Because their bread and butter is 100 yards. They can hit a dot that you and I dream about doing consistently, and they want that to be their advantage. So they don't throw a big Hades on the front unless they have to, because it just adds more variable and more potential for issues. And that's just being honest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's kind of why I made the switch. I've been a fixed blade for most of my archery hunting career, and then I just recently, in the last few years, switched over to mechanicals for that reason, because I was handicapped. I could only go out to 40 yards was about as far as my comfortability went. I didn't dare shoot past maybe 50 yards with my fixed blade, because I didn't trust what it was going to do. Switched over to the mechanical blades, and now I really could make that 75, 80 yard shot and feel confident shooting that shot, at least feel confident in being accurate, and that let the broadhead do its work once it gets there.
Right.
So that was kind of my reason for changing. As I've looked at your guys' broadheads, I kind of looked at the hybrids because oh man, that is kind of like the best of both worlds. I'm going to get a little bit better accuracy because it did look significantly smaller as far as the fixed blade side of it. Plus I get the mechanical cutting surface, which would be awesome. So that was what I was kind of looking at to begin with, but you've kind of got me converted over to the Pro Series now, listening to you talk about it.
Yeah, the hybrids are great. We've got a lot of great hunters that are shooting them, especially for elk. Again, I think it comes down to, hey, some guys feel like elk, if they don't get a pass through, they like that cut working for them. But you wouldn't go wrong with the micro hybrid. You wouldn't go wrong with the Pro Inch and Threads or a mini mag. You won't go wrong with our micro 80s if that's your cup of tea. They're all great products. You just got to weigh out the benefits, the negatives, and decide what do you want. What can you live with? What can't you live without? Those kind of things, and roll with it. And then go into the field with confidence. That's the factor, the biggest factor, period. Be confident. Know you can put it where you need to put it, and you'll get your critter.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Go back to that confidence thing. Don't you guys make like a practice tip that's very similar to some of your mechanical ones, so it allows you to shoot it? I mean, you'd be able to practice a ton with it that would fly the same.
Yeah, we do offer practice tips for our mechanical broadheads, even our hybrids. And it's funny, and I might get shot for saying this, but I've shot specific broadheads for like the EHNTR Pro, right? For so many years, I know what it does, period.
Yeah.
And I will shoot a couple, but I don't need to shoot a practice broadhead a bunch anymore. I know my system. I know I do the same thing year in and year out, right? I get my setup perfect. I get everything dialed. I shoot a ton. I'll throw in a little bit of broadhead or practice broadhead shooting, but not much. Okay. And that's one of the beauties of a mechanical. If I was shooting and hunting with a fixed blade broadhead, I would feel a need to shoot them nonstop. I really would. And that's kind of a different level. Even longer shooting. I know my drop on my mechanical because it's physics, right? Even with mechanical versus field point, at some point you're going to see a little more drop because there is more drag. Kevin Wilkie and I, are neighbors and good friends, and he did some testing with his chronograph a couple years ago, and even a mechanical. I don't remember the exact numbers, but at like 40 yards, even with a good mechanical broadhead that he shoots, my broadheads, it was still slowing down 6-7 feet per second more than a field point at 40 yards. Mm-hmm. And the further you get out, the more that happens. The more profile you have, the more that happens. And so at some point you're going to see a little drop. I know and understand that. I know my system. I know what I need to do to compensate if on longer shots, out talking 60 plus, and that works for me. And I have a system dialed, and I don't need to change it. It works for me. But yeah, we do offer practice heads. We encourage everyone to know and understand what your equipment does, period. Whether that means shooting practice heads every day, or your confidence level, you've shot a certain broadhead for so long, you know what it's going to do, get your setup right. I spin test them, I check them, I function them, I put them in my quiver, and I go kill stuff. Yeah. But you got to kind of find a system that works for you. But we do have all those options.
Say if you killed 150 animals with it, that's pretty good confidence at that point.
Yeah.
I'm not at that level.
it definitely helps. When you ran it through a lot of critters and know, and a lot of different scenarios, and that's just the pro EHNTR. I've killed more animals than that with other models, but with that particular head, that's like I said, that's my go-to when the chips are down. When I'm going on a hunt that, I do a lot of different style of hunts, right? But when I'm on that trophy hunt or that, that dream hunt or whatever, that's my baby.
Yeah.
If I go sit in a tree stand, I'm hunting whitetail and filling the freezer and shooting a couple does, that's my tinkering time. I'll try every broadhead in our lineup, but when the chips are down, the EHNTR Pro is my baby. It's in my number one slot in my quiver always, and nothing's ever dethroned that. I've slowly integrated the mini mag into the mix because I'm starting to get confidence there because I've shot enough that I'm loving it, right? And I just like the features of it. I can look at a broadhead and tell you whether I like it or not real fast just by the design and the shape and the blade profile and the blade angle, all those things, no matter what brand it is. I can tell you instantly, hey, this is something I'd consider, and this is something that I'd throw in the garbage. Mm-hmm. And those two are my go-tos right now for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got a buddy trying to talk me into into burning 20 elk points this year on an archery tag here in Utah. And I want to have your confidence, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at here, to have that confidence knowing that it's gonna do its job if I end up doing that. He's crazy for even bringing it up, but he's pushing real hard for me to do it.
Well, if you do it, you give me a call. We'll find what works best for you and gives you that confidence and get you lined out.
That's you'll probably be getting a call from me. So that's awesome. Seth, did you have any other products or questions that you wanted to ask about?
I think he's covered it really, really well. So I don't have anything left.
I want to start talking broadheads. I just start talking a lot. So,
I love it, man. I have learned so much today. I want to go back to something you said earlier. Just this isn't about broadheads. I guess it kind of is, but You're talking about your shot placement on animals. So I'm always trying to tuck it in behind, right in that pocket. And you said you shoot yours a little bit further back. Tell me a little bit about that. If you don't mind, you don't have to tell us your secrets if you don't. You can say, Taryn, just mind your own business. But
look, I'm an advocate. I've said it before. I've talked about it. I'm an advocate for people being successful in the field, whether they use Grim Reaper or any other brand. Bow hunters need to be united and help each other, and hopefully people that have dealt with me would say that. I'm happy to help and share experiences that have made me more successful. And I've been on hundreds of animal recoveries with the bow and arrow. And I've been on plenty of non-recoveries, and I get multiple phone calls yearly because of what I do for a living and my experience from people in the field, or, hey, I just hit this animal. Here's where I hit it. Here's what the blood looks like. Here's what, wanting to know what should I do. Mm-hmm. And just my overall experience over the last, I don't want to admit how old I am, but over the last 30 plus years of bow hunting, I've just kind of gravitated to shot placement. For me, if you look at an animal's anatomy, I come back middle to back of lung on everything. I'm talking, you go from the crease and I come back mid-body 4 ribs, 4 inches. Wow. Especially on an elk. Because a couple of reasons. One, most animals I've seen lost are always hit forward. And a lot of them are guys that, man, I put it right in the crease, tight on the shoulder, maybe a hair high or whatever. I've seen more elk and more big animals get away on that hit than anything. And 2, related to blood trails and penetration, so when you're tucking tight, you have 0 forgiveness forward. You hit the shoulder, or you're always going to hit the off shoulder. You're not getting that second hole, for 1. 2, the tighter the hole is to the movement of the shoulder, I found, it plugs up and doesn't let blood on the ground. So say you tuck it right tight on the crease of the shoulder, as soon as that elk runs off and swings its shoulder backwards, it seals that hole completely. Yeah. My hole that's 4 inches back from that's just nothing but thin hide and rib, never seals and never plugs, period, with movement of the animal's muscular structure or shoulder. There's nothing there. And come to find out, and I never even realized this wasn't my reasoning for it, but I heard Randy Ulmer say the exact same thing on a podcast. He always shoots his mule deer further back than most anyone. Intentionally, back along, back in the middle of the ribs. It gives you by far the most forgiveness any direction on a lethal hit. If you're a little back, you're still liver. Yeah, that's a good point. Dead animal. I don't even like to say this, but even a paunch or a gut shot animal dies, period. Right. If you play your track job correctly, you do what you need to do. I don't condone that's ever anyone's shot, but it's the truth. Yeah. You hit forward, you're still in the lungs. So, I practice a ton. I'm a good shooter, but I've killed a ton of critters. I still get jacked up. Things happen. Animals step, animals moved. I get excited. I get a poor yardage on my range, whatever. I miss by a few inches. Yeah, we all do. And most times, guys' point of impact from what they thought it was is not what it was. Mm-hmm. Most guys that say, I hit it right here, and they walk up on the animal, oh, that was a little further back than I thought, or that came out a little different. So I've just found that hit a little, coming back a little further to be ultimately the most lethal, forgiving shot placement on an animal, especially with a mechanical broadhead. Mm-hmm. It's my hunting style. What works for me. It's what when I went to Africa years ago, African animals have different anatomy, and it's way forward. Oh, I had the hardest time coming right up the leg and holding on the square on what I consider the shoulder. Uh-huh. Like I fought it. I had to get targets and practice because I've mentally trained myself that my spot's not there. And you know, if you look at an animal's anatomy, I think it's the smarter shot placement with the bow and arrow. With a gun, people are trained to, and even I deal with it a lot with the crossbow. Most crossbow hunters are coming from the gun hunting world, and they're intentionally squaring them up on the front end to break them down.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to bleed them out and follow a blood trail. And I think it warrants a little bit different mentality and shot placement. And that's what I found to be the most lethal, period. And I've seen it across hundreds and hundreds of recoveries that's the recoveries we get. And, you know, it just works for me. And I'll say it and I'll preach it and I'll advocate it because I just feel like it helps people and it's the best option.
Now I got to try it. So when I do shoot my next animal with a bow, I'm going to have to. It's going to be hard though. Like you, kind of how you were with the African animals. I'm going to be the same way trying to do that. Like, it's a little far back.
I mean, practice makes perfect, right?
That's right.
It's funny, like, and I was talking in one of my last shows with a guy that shoots a lot of 3D, and you look at the dots on the 10 ring on a 3D target, it is not even close to my perfect kill shot.
Yeah, so it's a
that's
long way.
Where they're trained mentally, like, hey, this is where, you know, I'm 10 ring and 10 ring and 10 ring. And for me, man, that is not where I want to shoot a critter.
Yeah.
Too high a lot of the time.
Right? On a lot of targets. And so you go look at my 3D targets on my range and be like, dude, you suck. Like, the rings are over here and you're like, you're pounding it up here. I'm like, well, you know, it's what I've trained myself to do in the heat of the moment. It's natural. And, you know, animals I've lost for the most part have always been forward, always forward hits. And I just, you know,
well, I like your comment about, you know, it gives you more forgiveness too, because if you miss, you know, if you're aiming forward and you miss forward, you're smacking them right in the bone, and you're not going to get penetration.
Hitting the brisket or something.
Yeah, you're not going to get penetration on that. So
I kind of want to go middle back part of lung where forward still front of the lung. That's the highest point the lungs come. Height wise, back you've got still plenty of lung, but liver behind that. You know, I mean, anything in a pie plate shot is lethal.
Yeah.
If you tuck tight on the crease, that's great, but now your forgiveness is from from their back.
Yeah, it's half.
You have no forgiveness forward.
Yeah.
And height wise, the lungs on the front end of it, especially on an elk, the chest cavity goes like this.
Right.
And that mid to high shot right on the crease, it clips top of lung, and I have seen countless elk lost. Yep. And guys swear on their life they just they just right on the crease. They got this much penetration, blah blah blah.
Right.
And they lost their animal, and it's that hit. It's just clipping top part of lung. It's mid body on an elk, tight on the crease. And it looks perfect, but it is not. I can promise you it is not a perfect shot. If they came back 4 inches from that spot, it is absolutely smoked dead within 100 yards. That's my theory, or not a theory, it's proven to me. That's my style. That's my whole point. That's what I try to accomplish. And now there's, you know, that changes obviously if the animal's facing different directions or whatever, but I'm just talking straight up. My whole point is further back on average than most guys, and those are my reasons.
That's awesome, man. I'd love to do a podcast with you and just talk like archery hunting tips, stuff like that people just don't know or you know haven't even thought about, because we kind of, you know, we're probably like you guys, or maybe maybe you didn't, but I learned a lot of this from my dad, and so some of the stuff that he did I've adopted, good or bad. You know, it could be great, it could be bad, some of the stuff that he did, and so I'd love to do a podcast with you and just talk archery hunting tips.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm a broadhead expert, but I'm also a huge archery hunting junkie, and you know, I've been blessed not only to bow hunt for 35 years, but I also I've been able to rub shoulders with a lot of the greats in the industry and in all categories. And
Yeah.
I've had the blessing of having a ton of real world infield experience. I've made all the mistakes a bow hunter can make. I've made all the bad hits. I've made all the stupid mistakes, and one of the best teachers is just failure, period. And, I feel like I've learned a ton and grown a ton from it. And I get to talk bow hunting every day.
Yeah. Lucky.
And broadheads every day. And it has its gives and takes. And sometimes I get burned out with, man, I can't have another broadhead conversation today or I'm going to lose my mind. But in the end, I love sharing and helping. And I do it a lot in my hometown area. I actually went and bought this last year. I went and invested my own money in a bunch of Genesis bows and just to help youth learn to shoot. And I've done a bunch of youth shoots and families and stuff just because I love sharing my passion for archery and getting the next generation involved. So yeah, for sure. I'm all in to share what I know.
That'd be a
people
blast.
always think I'm like, kind of closed off, and it's just always been my personality. I don't throw myself out there a lot, but when you get me going, I love sharing and helping and be happy to do something. So.
Oh man, we need to plan it and just do it. Cause there's a lot, I think there are a lot more people getting into archery hunting because of people like you doing those things, getting youth involved. So it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of archery shoots, 3D archery shoots. It's a lot of fun. It's getting more people involved. And so, but actual hunting practices, I think that's where people, there is a big gap between shooting 3D archery and shooting and hunting archery. To me, honestly, it's two different worlds. And that's how I think about it in my head. I have my entire, 3D setup. I have my hunting setup, and it is a completely different look. And so I think that's where we need to kind of bridge that gap.
I see some of the best 3D shooters in the world, and they're not hunters, killers.
Right.
There are people that are both. But there's a lot of there's a lot of education that needs to happen when it comes to being frank about it when it comes to killing stuff and recovering animals. I can't believe how many people just don't know what to do on animals they shoot or are trying to trail or track or recovery. And I learned some of those things the hard way. And follow-up is such a big thing. And I get a ton of calls every year from people in the field that, man, I just hit this animal. Here's how it's acting. Here's where I think I hit it. Here's what my arrow. So I think there needs to be better education on, man, what do you do?
Yeah.
You hit one back here. What do you do? How do you play it to increase your odds? And I've had plenty of those real world scenarios to learn some really valuable experiences. Even this past year, I shot a deer, a little longer shot, and hit it back, and knew exactly where I hit it, watched how I acted, or how it acted, and I instantly knew exactly how I had to play it all out, and I got that deer. But I feel like I was sitting there thinking, there's probably a lot of people that wouldn't get this deer because they don't know what to do next. They're going to go walk up over that ridge and bump it, and then just knowing how to handle each scenario and how to follow up is a big factor that I think needs a little bit of education out there for sure. So
let's do it. Seriously, let's get that plan and get that on the. I know you're pretty busy right now with shows and whatnot, so we might want to wait till the shows are over with. But I think before
a couple more weeks of running hard at shows, and then I'll be able to settle in and get some work done. So
nice. We'll have to do it before archery season so that we can get people set up for success. Because I think stuff like that, like I said, is huge and super helpful for people, so they know, what to do in a hunting situation versus in my backyard shooting a target situation.
Right. Definitely different.
Yes. Well, cool, Matt. Well, we appreciate you coming on and talking Grim Reaper. I'm super stoked, man. You got me all excited now. I wanna get my hands on them and start working with them. So. Like I said, Seth's been poking and prodding at me for a long time now.
I'm just glad we had a Santaquin guy on the podcast. we always get these Southern Utah guys that knows, but now we got people in my neck of the woods.
We gotta get some Central or some Utah County representation.
That's right. Just a
Southern
little bit.
Utah counties.
Southern Utah County. Yeah, we can't go too far north. You can't go north of the wall.
No.
We told Seth that he lived in the wrong part of Utah yesterday. So.
Yeah. They told the Southern Utah guys were like, "Oh, you live too far north," and I'm like, "Hey, it's not Salt Lake County at least."
Yeah, well, it's growing a lot. I might have to migrate further south.
I'm following you too because it might have to happen.
there's still a handful of killers holding on to Santa Clara area. So.
That's right.
But yeah, man, it's been fun talking with you guys.
Yeah.
In the end, we just want people to be successful and enjoy being outdoors and bow hunting. And if we can help on our end in the broadhead category, that's what Grim Reaper's about. And we got the options to do it. So hopefully it was insightful and if we can help with anything, let us know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the best way to contact you? I guess, is it best for people to contact you if they have questions following this podcast? And what's the best ways to do that?
Yeah, so a couple ways. Obviously, you can call. This time of the year, I'm hit and miss, or you can hop on our website. We have an option on there to send us questions and requests through our actual website. It's just www.grimreaperbroadheads.com. Or we have an email address you can send questions to, watchemdrop@gmail.com. So there's several different methods that you can reach out, whether it's phone or email or through our website. We try to get back to those as promptly and quickly as we can. If someone wants to talk specifically to me personally, the best routes to call here and get through to me or leave me a message with one of the gals, and then I'll get back to people. So, and help steer guys the right direction if we can.
Nice. Sounds good. Is your office right there in that building right off I-15?
It is. Yeah, that's we're right off Center Street in Provo. It's where my office is. It's where our manufacturing facility is. We actually make all the product right here, assemble them, ship them all from right here in our shops. So,
wow.
Pretty. One of these days, we're going to open a little, not really a retail store, but maybe a little visiting room up front downstairs where you can kind of maybe look at some of our product and swag and maybe our history or whatever. We haven't got quite there, but that's on the future agenda to have a place people could actually stop in and check some things out and say hi. But right now, I don't have time to be down there dealing with that. So, but that's the eventual plan, to have that option.
Nice. I go by that building. I can't tell you how many times I drive past that building. So one of these times I'll have to stop in and shake your hand. And if I don't see the expo, get to know you a little bit better.
If you guys are wandering around Expo tomorrow and see a guy decked out in Grim Reaper stuff, and probably me. So.
Awesome, man. We for sure will. Well, man, appreciate you coming on. Good luck with your shows. Let us know if we can help in any way. We'd be happy to help in any way that we possibly can with any of your guys' stuff. But enjoy those shows, and let's touch base as soon as you get done.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Matt. Talk to you later.
Take care.
Bye.
See ya.